Hello and welcome to another Customer Insights and Experience Share. I'm Zamir Javer, Jumpfactor CEO, and today we have a very special guest, Steve Sweet from Buchanan Technologies, and he's here to share some of his insights from a leadership perspective in running an established and large MSP based in North America, as well as some of his experience in driving revenue growth with a lead generation partner, in this case, Jumpfactor. Welcome, Steve, and thanks for being here.
Thanks for the great introduction, Zamir. It's great to be here.
Excellent. Well, perhaps for the viewers, I'll share a little bit of background about Buchanan Technologies and about Steve, and then hand it over to you to share some insights. So, Buchanan Technologies started about 35 years ago, and it's ramped up over the years to just under 850 people, or 856. They like to be known as one of the best kept secrets in the MSP world, and they offer fairly flexible, customized packages to different segments of the market. They're an industry leader in managed IT services, and over the last several years, they've been acquiring many smaller MSPs as part of their growth strategies. They've been recognized as one of the best companies to work for in Texas for 8 years, one of the top ranked MSPs in the USA, multiple accolades, including the MSP 501 list, Microsoft and Channel E2E awards, MSP Elite, MSP 501, and several others. Stephen joined with Buchanan about 23 years ago through a consulting firm called Software Spectrum, which was one of the largest consulting software firms in their space. And he started as the vice president there of the Canadian region and then moved into the president role. And so, Steve, perhaps it would be insightful just to share a little bit from your perspective of what your priorities and focus are there at Buchanan, and a little bit about what Buchanan kind of is focused on from a growth perspective.
Yeah, absolutely, Zamir. I've really shifted into taking kind of primary responsibility in Buchanan for our growth and our customer experience overall. So our growth from our strategy really comes from two main sources. We call it new logo, and that's a lot of the stuff that we do with jump factors around acquiring new logos and things like that. But also equally important is what we call upsell, which is getting into a customer and continuing to expand our services into other lines of business that we offer, and continue to drive that.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah. And I can see that it's clear Buchanan has been growing successfully over the years. So, about 4 years ago, 2019, in April, we partnered together, and it's been a great engagement and relationship over the years. And of course, we spoke with LaRessa, your vice president of marketing, and she shared some detailed insights from a ground level of working with our team. I think it would be valuable to get your insight in what led to the support of partnering with Jumpfactor about 4 years ago, and kind of what's led to the sustained engagement over the years.
Yeah, absolutely. Like many firms, 4 or 5, 6 years ago, we had a series of BDRs internally that were, pounding the phones, cold calling, trying to drive meetings for our account executives and things like that, and really not having much success. Around that time, we brought in LaRessa. At the time, she was director of marketing. She's since moved up, who really started to champion the concept of digital marketing in terms of using digital marketing and SEO to help drive leads. We originally started with an independent contractor who tactically did a great job for us in terms of getting that kicked off. But we quickly recognized we wanted to take it to another level, and started the search for a digital marketing partner like Jumpfactor, and
Hmm.
looked at several different firms, and LaRessa really led that charge in terms of bringing Jumpfactor to the table. We met with you folks, and liked the energy, liked the approach, liked the knowledge you had, and brought you on as a partner. And I think what's really sustained that partnership over the years is the fact that Jumpfactor is not just a tactical SEO partner; they're really a strategic digital marketing partner in terms of looking at every aspect of how we can drive leads and things like that into the business, how technology is affecting SEO, and trying to quote unquote stay ahead of Google, which is not an easy thing to do, or impossible, frankly. But you can try and stay ahead of them, and drive that, and bring new ideas to us, and bring a level of strategy, whether it be on a monthly or quarterly basis with your account management strategy to us, to help us grow that. And the results have been phenomenal. Just even from a new logo lead gen perspective, we went from our sales team getting, I don't know, 5 or 6 leads a year out of marketing, 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah.
The team now consistently receives over 300 leads a year, 300 to 400 leads a year. And the quality of those leads is excellent. We average about a 20 to 25% close rate on those. So we're now consistently driving, 70 to 75 to 80 new logos a year, many of which are thanks to the Jump Factor SEO leads and digital marketing leads we're getting as we push those through.
Wonderful. Lots of great insights there, and thanks for sharing the context for everyone. And yeah, I have some data here from the campaigns and the team, and I can see there's been some tremendous uptick. So just for the benefit of some of the viewers, the increase has been manyfold across the site, and of course, one of the things we target is increasing the visibility of the site in terms of keyword rankings. And so it looks like the keywords have increased about 20x over the time that we've been working together in terms of the sheer volume. And a lot of these keywords are typically what we call buyer keywords. So where people are actually looking for managed IT services or cybersecurity or IT support. And that's resulted in a 10x increase in traffic. And then correspondingly similar, as you mentioned, Stephen, the lead flow has increased, and it looks like the leads have now reached a point of about 40 plus qualified leads per month that are what we'd call SQLs in nature, sales qualified. These are actual leads where people are raising their hands and they're saying, hey, we're interested in XYZ and certain services or consultation. And then your team takes the ball and runs with it. And they've done a phenomenal job of that in terms of, aggressively following up and making sure they're turning those into opportunities. So that's been wonderful. I know that, of course, over the years, we didn't always start at this scope. It looks like the program has increased ninefold in scope in terms of resources being allocated, and there's been many additional ad hoc projects, MDF supported campaigns over the years, which we've been able to help with. And so, just curious from your side. So, obviously, with this lead flow, it's probably transformed the way you look at sales and how the sales team handles their approach towards new business development. Can you share some insight on how the process has changed and what approach your sales team takes now internally?
Yeah, so it's funny. We have we've kind of flipped the problem, right? So before we started with Jump Factor, we had most of our leads were self-generated referrals, things like that. Probably in a 90-10 scenario where we were going out and having to hunt and find those leads, and obviously that impacted volume. Today, where we have the exact opposite problem, or not problem, I guess it's a good problem to have, is 70 to 75% of our wins are coming through what we call Jump Factor sort of sourced leads. And we're really trying to grow that self-generated side back up again to bring balance there. Because one of the challenges with web leads is you can't control the size of the lead. You can kind of sort of control maybe the industry or the vertical. So we really work with our teams to help focus on account-based marketing in terms of targeting specific firms on their own hunting, which Jump Factor assists with as well by enabling us to put case studies on the site, obviously key logos, really to help build up that story. So even on a self-generated, I think there's a little bit of a Jump Factor impact in there in terms of making sure that the customer, when they visit the site, get the right experience to want to engage with us and continue to move forward.
Right, right. And yeah, so yeah, that's interesting. You mentioned the efforts to date have largely all been through inbound and obviously turnkey, different types of content assets, SEO, a little bit of paid media. But we're excited now because going forward, we're adding on the outbound component, which will help to target some of these more specific ICP fits and allow us to kind of dial into very specific logos. I have some data here, just again for the benefit of the viewers, that it looks like those over the life of the engagement to date, we've been able to drive $49.6 million in revenue verified from the efforts of the Jump Factor and Buchanan partnership, which is phenomenal. Of course, how would you say this channel, I think you shared a little bit, but in terms of the channel of growth is internally in terms of, budget allocation and where you guys are looking to push forward as you grow and leverage lead generation?
Yeah. So today, a new logo generation probably accounts, for about 50% of our targeted revenue each year, or targeted revenue increase each year. The other side of that being upsell into existing customers, which is obviously a little bit easier in terms of selling to an existing customer. But continuing to drive that strategy is critical for us to grow, especially as we move into new verticals. We've as you mentioned at the onset of this, we've done some acquisitions. We now view ourselves as a full stack managed service provider with some of the acquisitions we've done in the application management space, specifically around Oracle and Microsoft. In terms of driving those new verticals and driving that new logo revenue in that space, and this has opened up more areas for success with the partnership to help us continue to exceed our revenue targets.
Wonderful. And we've been always excited to be part of that. And I think so, aside from the obvious goal of a marketing lead generation campaign and partner of being able to drive ROI that's tangible, the other thing is, of course, the relationship and engagement with a partner, and what that looks like, and how the interactions go. I know there's been different levels of engagement depending on who on the team has been on the specific task. But what's your experience been in terms of working with the team, their knowledge level and expertise and strategy so far?
Yeah, I mean, I think and you and I talked about this earlier. One of the key successes of our relationship, I think, is your account management strategy. In terms of we have an assigned account manager that kind of is the traffic cop, let's call it, of the relationship in terms of
Yeah.
making sure your team's delivering on the right priorities and things like that. There's a regular action plan and action list that team is following and adhering to make sure we're hitting deadlines. So it's that's critical from a tactical perspective, but then from a strategic perspective, we get folks like yourself and Danny involved who are more subject matter experts in a lot of these spaces. There's times where you guys come in to help drive that strategy and help set maybe a different direction or a new direction to continue to help grow the success of the relationship. And I think that's what's really made it so successful and made us hit such lofty revenue targets in terms of this relationship is that combination of sort of the tactical day to day in terms of getting the job done, but then driving on a quarterly basis what the strategy looks like. What are we going to focus on? Where do we need to move? How's the technology changing? AI coming in so rapidly is obviously going to affect SEO, and what do we need to do to combat that? You guys have been a fantastic partner in terms of helping drive those strategies.
Yeah, wonderful. And you touched on something interesting there. There's so many changes in this industry. Even before the advent of AI, there's constant evolution of the search engine platforms and the different technologies to use. And of course, we feel that it's our obligation and goal to make sure we're staying on top of it and driving additional value, leveraging the opportunities as they come up. And we see AI as a major opportunity to be able to capture additional market share. One of the reasons being that a lot of companies will simply fall behind, and so it opens up a gap for us to kind of leap forward a little bit. So, we're excited to double down on that. As an MSP of any size, whether it's the ownership or some of the leadership from a marketing perspective, often when it comes to growth, they're looking to see, okay, how do we step on the gas? What can we do internally, and what can we do with a partner? And there's so many different options, from contractors to freelancers to different types of agencies. Some are non-specialized, some are, but then many are, very low budget type. And, what can you share in terms of recommendations or insights in terms of what to look for, and where you would sort of say a company like Jumpfactor fits in the spectrum, so that it can help them in their decision making?
Yeah, I think I think a couple of things you mentioned there are key. You can go the individual contractor route and hire your own SEO person and or contract them in. I think the challenge there with and I think as MSPs we kind of sell this as well, right? You're kind of single threaded there. You're getting the capabilities of one individual. So I think definitely going with a firm, a digital marketing firm is critical to that, to get the various levels of capability that you need to have in a whole SEO strategy. And then on the flip side, we specifically looked for firms that focused only on digital marketing. As we know, marketing is a pretty broad segment, and there's lots of large firms out there that have digital marketing divisions and things like that. We felt it was more critical to go with a firm that just specialized in that space to help really drive the strategy there, and have that single focus, and not really get into areas we don't need to get into. And at an executive level yourself, as a as a leader in the industry, we get access to yourself in terms of driving that strategy as well, which is critical.
Right, right. And then in terms of selecting a specific, so let's say you've sort of shortlisted down to a set of agencies, all of whom are digital. Anything else that you recommend they sort of look out for in sort of deciding who to proceed with, whether it's industry expertise or anything that's been critical and valuable from a Buchanan perspective?
Yeah, I think making sure that that firm has an effective account management strategy. SEO is not a project. It's not something that you say, "Hey, we're going to come in and do it for 6 months, and then you're off and sailing." It's a constant month to month grind of staying ahead of the competition, so to speak, in terms of
Right.
driving that. And for that to be successful, the firm has to have an effective account management strategy, where you're constantly looking at what needs to change, what you need to drive, what different tactics you need to take, in addition to being able to bring those strategic resources in when necessary to help set the strategy, for that account management group to drive. And that's really, I think, the secret sauce with Jumpfactor is that structure and how you guys drive that, which has kept you, on top. We look at this every year in terms of what's the return on investment we're driving out of every dollar we spend in marketing. And Jumpfactor is one of our biggest external spends, and you're constantly driving and hitting that return, and that's key. And you're doing that because you're moving and you're ebbing and flowing with us in the market and the industry, and Google, in terms of what happens there. And that's the secret to that success.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that, and I definitely I see sort of the perspective that you're sharing. Like it's obviously the numbers and the ROI at the end of the day are one of the key governing factors for continued partnership and growth. But there has to be a good level of strategy and account management to really keep it together. Every partnership has their sort of ebbs and flows, and the goal is to make sure that we're constantly moving forward and driving success. In the face of all the changes of Google and the different ad platforms and so on. So we like to take sort of an agile approach and allow ourselves to be sort of flexible in that regard. Well, Stephen, I want to thank you for your time. I really appreciate the insights you've shared today. I think they've been very valuable for a lot of the viewers, especially from your leadership perspective. It gives a real, unique angle for people to kind of consider and look at, especially for some more sizable MSPs that are considering augmenting their team. As you mentioned, of course, you have a VP of marketing and have had other individuals internally, and still have found significant value working with external specialized partners. So thanks again. We look forward to the continued growth and expansion with Buchanan.
Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Thanks.